guys, it's Kate and I hope you're having a great day. I'm back with this Leyton watercolor block that I got, and I've only painted on one sheet of it so far. So I wanted to try this block using it with some of my gouache. This is the ShinHan Professional Gouache, and I've squirted some into this palette here, let it dry, and reactivated it for use today. And so I'm going to start by making kind of a mixed up background. I'm using it a little bit like watercolor almost. It's going to be semi opaque in some spots, but a pretty thin coating, and I'm using plenty of water. Now I'm going to be doing some blues and greens on the back here because I want to have a nice base, and then I can add some shapes over it, which I am going to doodle on because I'm kind of feeling like some gouache background in doodles today. So I'm using my ultramarine, and I think this is, I can't remember what the labeled color is, but it's similar to like a Viridian. So if you have gouache or watercolor or even acrylic and you want to follow along, you can grab those colors. And I'm just going to go back and forth in between the two. And this is kind of a good experiment using this paper wet and wet also, because I'm not really sure how it's going to act. So far I like it, so that's a good thing. I'm going to have this come down over to the side here. Then I'm going to go back into this green and fill in these two spots. I'm kind of going quickly so that I can get this blended before it really starts to dry. And I'm just adding some water as I go. And then we'll see if we get much cauliflowering and stuff like that. I'm not using I'm using a little bit of water and kind of going over some of these spots that have partially dried. So we'll just see what happens here. It seems like the paper really soaks in the color quickly. So that is something to consider, but let's do a second little layer here and get some more cloudiness going on. Kind of come in here and do another little layer while it's damp. And I don't really mind if I get cauliflowering, but this is a good way to kind of experiment with this paper a little bit and kind of see what it can do. I'm going to add some more green here. And just make it kind of cloudy. I really like gouache because it spreads, but you also get some kind of interesting texture there. It's just this really nice kind of cloudy look. So I'm going to let this layer dry completely, and then we're going to start in with some more color. All right, my paper is completely dry. I really like how this dried. I think this is going to be a decent paper to use, and it is very budget friendly. I think I paid somewhere around $10 for this. It's a 5x7 100% cotton cold press paper, and this is my second sheet that I'm painting on, but I really like it so far. So next I'm going to go heavily into my white down here, and I'm going to get some on my brush, and I'm going to grab some blue here, just a light blue, and I'm going to mix it up pretty well, and I might even grab some more white because I want a nice contrasting layer over this base layer. And I'm going to make some basic shapes with hard edges, just like that. And I'm going to fill them in. And these are going to be pretty opaque. I'm trying not to overwork my brush because I don't want to activate that color underneath very much. But these are just going to be very light blue, and they're going to be covering up some of my background. So I'm just going in to get some more white, a little bit more blue, and I'm just going to make some of these organic shapes. I'm going to vary the size a bit also so that they're not all the same, and I'm going to change the shapes just a little bit too. I'm trying not to contaminate my white so much, so when I have to go in for some more, I'm kind of rinsing my brush to get a fresh load. I'm going to put a little shape up here and then maybe a small one here that goes off the corner. And again, I'm being liberal with that paint so I get decent coverage. So this is going to be kind of a nice contrast between the cloudy, sort of soft edges of the background and then some hard edges with a little bit of contrast. I want to put a little bit of a shape here, so I'm going to grab the rest of what I've got, add a little bit more white that was in that pan, and just make another sort of blobby shape. And this is going to be another layer for our background. And I'm just going over it gently with my brush, getting that shape nice and solid, just kind of adjusting some of these curves a little bit right here so I get what I want. And then I'm going to go in just one more time and put a little bit of something here and a little bit of something here. So I've got a couple of things kind of coming off the edge. Now for this one on top, I'm going to add a little bit more color to it. I think it just needs to be popping out a bit more. And then the last little tiny bit, I'm going to put another shape here. And then I'm going to let this one dry completely. All right, this layer is all dry now too. And so what I really want to do now is bring some warmth into this. So I'm going to mix a very light pink using white that I've got here. I'm going to just put it in my mixing well, and I'm going to add a little bit of red, but just a little. I want to have a nice light sort of salmon pink. And I'm going to make a couple more blobs on here with that color just to get some more brightness and some more warmth. So again, I'm trying not to overwork my brush. I don't mind if there's a little bit of texture in these blobs, but I don't want it to be over brush strokey. And I'm trying not to go over it too much also because I don't really want to reactivate this color I've got underneath. So I'm going to get some more water on my brush and mix a little bit more color. I'm just really kind of digging in my my gouache here to get some good color. Grab a little bit more red and keep going with these blobs. Now I'm sort of overlapping some of the ones I've got. I don't want to cover up my whole background, so I'm trying to be a little bit strategic on where I put them. I'd like them to overlap some that I've already got down here and then leave some of that nice cloudy background still. Now I'm gonna paint over this one again just to make it a little bit brighter, stand out a little bit more. And I'm just going gently with my brush, just like that. And this is just sort of a slow, relaxing process. I think I like this slightly more pink shade here. I think that's a winner. So I'm going to get some more water, a little bit more paint, go over this one again also. And I think adding this pink in here really just livens it up. I'm going to add just a little circle shape here. And then I'm going to go over this one more time with this brighter pink color. I'm just going to scoop up whatever I've got left in my palette. And it's kind of mixing together on the page, which is nice. And I'm going to be done with this now. Once this dries, I'm going to grab my markers and we're going to add some doodles to it. All right, I am back and we are all dry. I've got my paper out of the block and I'm going to go back into my gouache and start working on some sort of doodly botanicals. And I'm going to start with this nice rich black. I'll probably also add some lighter colors here too. But I'm going to start here first, and I'm going to kind of go around some of my lighter spots in this paper, and I'm going to just use my small round brush to make my botanicals. So I'm going to start making some loopy leaves around this stem, and I'm going to make sure I have plenty of gouache so I can make sure that it's totally opaque as I go. Now, if you have markers or something like that, you can certainly use that. I'm just using my gouache since I already have it on hand. And I'm just going slowly and just enjoying the relaxing process of this. So where I have this kind of coming off the paper, I'm just going to let it exit gracefully and then keep on going. I just felt myself dip my hand into the paint, but I made sure not to move it. So it's not ruined, yay, but I am going to go over that line again. Can't believe I did that. I'm usually careful. All right, all fixed. I'm going to add 2 more of these little leaf sprigs, and I do want to keep this painting pretty simple, but I really like this black color in these really nice clean lines. So I'm going to add 1 more right here and try not to dip my hand in it. And just go gently and easily with my brush. So I've got 2 here now. I'm going to come right up here and have 1 facing this way. So I'm going to grab my gouache is getting a little bit dry, so I put a little more water on my brush, and I'm going to have 1 facing this way, just like that. So we've got these really fun little interesting botanicals with the black. I'm going to go into my white now, and this is going to be our highest contrast color. And I'm just going to put in some little pattern marks, just like this. Because I want this to be just a fun little doodly drawing. And I like using the black and white there. So I'm going to have it come through here a little bit, and I'm not doing too much with my shape. I'm just kind of making these little blobby shapes in a bit of a pattern. And I'm trying to make it so it's going over both the lighter and the darker areas so that you see some of that contrast there, and still trying not to dip my hand in wet paint. So I think that's good there. I'm going to add it to 1 more spot right down here. So I'm just taking my brush and letting the paint come right off of it. Now this one I'm going to have come closer to my little leaves and come right off the page here. And I think that looks pretty good. And maybe just a couple over here. Why not? We'll do 4 spots. So we've got these little doodles and patterns and marks. I think I want to try a different color now, or maybe we go toward a darker version of the same color. So in my background, I use the ultramarine, and that is a nice, rich, dark blue. So I think I'm going to return to that, get it activated with my brush, and make some little dark blue marks also. And I'm thinking I might do just a few little spirals. Now, what I'm going to do with these though, because I really want my black leaf sprigs to be the biggest point of contrast, I'm going to use this dark color, but I'm going to try to mostly steer clear of the lightest areas of my page. So I'm going to make a few little blue spirals here, just like that. And I'm going to try to stay in the darker areas of the paper. And it's just going to be kind of part of a pattern here. I'm going to try to group more than 1 together, but we'll just kind of see as we go how it looks. I don't want to add too many. I think that looks pretty good. Let's add another couple right over here. Maybe it looks too weird only being in the dark spots. This doesn't look bad. What do you guys think? Maybe I'll add a couple little ones in the light areas. How's this look? Why not? I kind of like these little shapes. They're just simple. You don't have to do anything complicated, that's for sure. I'll add one there, and that might be pretty good. I'm trying to make them look like they're spread out and kind of part of the background, but I don't want to have them looking kind of weird with just sort of like one off by itself off in a corner someplace and then a whole big blank spot. So I'm trying to place them randomly but yet regularly, if that makes any sense to you. And I like this so far. I think the last thing I'm going to do is go back into this red that I used for these sort of peachy areas, and I'm going to dip into it a little bit more full strength, and I'm going to add some tiny little dots in a few spots. And I don't want them to overpower because this red's a really warm color and it's very bright. But I think having a couple extra little pops of that on the page in these little tiny dot groups, I think that'll look pretty cute. And I'm going to do a couple kind of coming in from the edge also. And then we can have kind of a fun little pattern going on the page. Just like that. And I'm putting it over the pink so that it stands out nicely. And because if I put it over the green, if there's any kind of green that comes through, it'll start looking a little dirty and dull if it reactivates underneath. But also this is sort of a higher contrast area too, so you'll be able to see it, and it's kind of on its own color, which is nice. And I really like this. This is great. And it's so simple and just sort of relaxing to do. I think we can call this good. And I'm going to go ahead and give you the close-up. And this is all done in gouache. A couple of different layers, but just a lot of fun. Little patterns. You can do any kind of marks you want, really. But hope you enjoyed this video today. Grab your gouache and follow along, or you can do it with watercolor, or you can do it with acrylic, whatever you have on hand. Hope you enjoyed this. If you like it, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep creating.